All right, episode number 30, Pest Control Millionaire. You guys can check us out on Spotify. Travis just brought up a good point. We're on YouTube as well, so if you guys want to watch the video, you're more than welcome to check us out. Travis is one of my really good friends. I've known him for probably 5 or 6 years, kind of like the rest of the guys. We're all part of a group together. Travis is a stud. He has a great story, very similar story to myself. Went through a lot of transitions, but I'll let him tell the story. But I think we've been trying to make this work for a month and a half now.
Yeah.
We just kept missing each other. And finally we made it work. So we finally narrowed down a time where both quick starts. We're like, let's just do it this day real quick. So welcome to the podcast, Travis. Finally, I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So why don't you just, as we get started here, kind of just tell us like how you got in the industry. Like I know the story, but it's super awesome. Tell us back the high school story, like how that came about, and then kind of just walk us through the process. We'll talk about your lawn and pest company, and then we'll transition into the marketing company and how it all works together. Super excited to have you. And so just tell us how you got into the industry, man.
Well, it's not really a flashy story, but through high school, I was a terrible student. I didn't even graduate high school. I don't have a GED. So I got out of high school and didn't know what to do. So I worked at a warehouse for 12 months or so, loading trucks. And then I moved up to the dispatch position. And I was probably a really bad employee. Don't like being told what to do. So one day I was working at the warehouse and my brother-in-law came in for lunch to meet with me for lunch. And it was like, damn, he can just go to lunch whenever he wants, wherever he wants. Like he just schedules his day. I want to do that. So I was just thinking, I always wanted to start some sort of business. So I just started cutting grass. I didn't say no to anybody. I didn't charge anywhere near enough. That first year or two, I wasn't making jack shit for money, learning a lot of lessons. And I spent that next 5 years just building revenue. Didn't really matter what it was, commercial, residential. Man, I was just following the herd. We did snow plowing, Christmas lights, all the maintenance, sprinklers, mowing, all of that. And then we got up to almost $1 million in revenue, and it was a mess. It was a shit show. I saw a ceiling that I hired my first office person, and I quickly realized that I'm treating every client differently. It was very complicated. We were bidding differently. There was no process. Everyone was different. So I quickly realized I was either going to have a really complicated business life without a lot of growth, and I could kind of hover where I was, or I had to make some changes. So I actually got in that academy group with you at that time, and kind of started making changes from there.
How old were you when you started?
Good question. 24, probably.
Okay, cool. And you got into academy 6 years ago?
Around there, 5 or 6 years ago.
So you've been at this a while too.
Yeah, 12 years.
Yeah, overnight success.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And so then I started working on pricing and knowing my numbers and why I'm actually charging what I'm charging. And then everything just started becoming more clear to me. We're doing commercial clients. We're doing residential clients. They're completely different. The way you deal with them, the way you bid, invoice, hire, train, equip the trucks. So over one winter, we were just about at $1 million in revenue. We just kind of pulled the Band-Aid off and just stopped servicing all the commercial clients one winter. We went down to almost $1 million, probably down to like 300,000 or 400,000 in revenue. And then we were able to grow.
Snow plowing clients commercial, or you dropped all commercial? Okay, cool.
We kept a little bit of commercial, the ones we wanted, but then we switched it to the small residential maintenance model. So that year we just worked hard at really building up a big clientele of residential clients. And we managed to go from the $1 million the year before. We cut probably 600,000 off. And then we actually were able to grow by like 20 grand. So we just crossed over $1 million that same year. So I felt like that was a pretty good accomplishment.
Yep.
And then we just spent the next couple of years just growing. We got up to about 1.5, and a year and a half ago, I wanted to make another change. I don't know why I keep making these changes. I like to rip the Band-Aid off quick. So we were at about 1.5, and I decided I didn't want to do the maintenance. We had somewhere maybe like 28 employees at the peak, around there. And I was just sick of the employee turnover, expensive equipment. We couldn't pay the guys what they were worth. They weren't sticking around. I didn't want, felt like a slave driver, a game of minutes, right? Oh, you need to be 4 minutes faster at this house. It wasn't fun. So I ripped off the Band-Aid again, and we went to spray only, fertilizer and pest control. And so we went from like 1.5 down to 300 again. This was a year and a half ago.
Yep.
So this year, our second full year doing it, I think we'll be right at $1 million with only 4 technicians, not 20 something.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Big difference.
But
like the people that are around, right?
Yeah,
they're still here. They're bought in.
Yeah, for sure. And but you just didn't drop all of your snow plowing roads at once, right? You didn't the first year you drop a big section, then the second year you drop 3 or 4 more, and then completely got out of it, or do you just cut the snow?
I cut it. I kept one. We had one property management company that was a bunch of really small apartments. It was probably $200,000, about $150,000 worth of work, but really small stuff. So it didn't fit our model. We hung on to them for 2 years and then dropped them, but everything else we just got rid of.
Wow. So when you dropped everything, the next question is well, how in the heck did he go from 400 or 500 back to $1 million, then back to 400, then back to $1 million? Okay, how did you? Everyone's going to want to know. How did you get
That's a great question. That winter was one of the busiest winters of my life.
Okay.
Getting marketing material right, pricing right, structuring, hiring, training, making sure there's a set process. We bid everyone the same way. We're easy to work with. Anything we could do, that was my whole intention. I had to get much better at sales and marketing.
Yeah. When we talked a while back, must have been about 2 years ago, you were talking about maybe having some of your technicians have half routes, kind of talking to the neighbors, filling up their routes. Did you guys end up doing that? Yeah, we tested it out. I love the idea and the concept. For me, I can go out and sell all day long. Right. We talked about that.
It's not my passion, and I'm not good at teaching that. So, and I quickly realized for us it was really hard to find a good person who's a good technician and a good salesman. Call them unicorns. Yep. It's one or the other. Is what I have found in the past.
For sure.
So our guys now, they're doing upselling to existing clients if they see issues, but they don't do a whole lot of talking to neighbors.
Gotcha. So then how did you grow from 400 to $1 million?
Just digital marketing. Just a lot of inbound leads. Just getting all of our stuff is pretty much inbound leads, estimate over the phone.
Yep. So that's where Kudos came in, right? Because you were obviously getting really good at it, right? So everyone that doesn't know, he had a marketing company too called Kudos Marketing. So he got really, really good at marketing. Obviously, that's how he grew from 400 to $1 million online. And then he started a marketing company for other people in the industry so they don't have to go knock doors, right?
Right. Yeah. So I wasn't looking to start Kudos, but I had dealt with companies in the past. Some were awesome to work with. Some were not so awesome. But then some of the awesome ones were growing so fast, great people, but they're just growing so fast. Stuff started falling through the cracks. So I hired a kid named Jordan, and he was just an employee. Yeah. He was an employee of Holmes. I took him to Dallas that one time. You probably met him there. I did. After a year and a half, 2 years of that, he just got really damn good. And he's an entrepreneur at heart, and I could see that. So I just saw this hole in the market. Companies that were good would grow too fast. They couldn't handle the growth. I've also learned the marketing company is kind of sketchy. There's a lot of companies that like to hold your website hostage and just do some shady things.
Yeah,
so
for sure. We
weren't looking to start it, but Jordan, he's a great dude. And I was like, hey man, I don't want to lose you. And I see this opportunity. Why don't we just partner? So he and I we're 50-50 partners in the company.
Jordan got sick though, right?
Yeah, he's been through a few rounds of chemo and radiation.
Yeah, how's he doing now?
He's on the tail end. He just finished up his second round of chemo and radiation, so he doesn't have a lot of strength. But man, he's a champ. He's been pushing through it. He's got a chip on his shoulder. Right? He found out same month married that he has cancer. Right. So right when they get married, he's a champ. He was able to do a lot of great things during that time.
Gotcha. So I'm starting over $400,000 revenue, or I'm at $400,000 in revenue. You had one place to put your money in marketing. Where would you put it?
If I needed a quick return, it would be AdWords.
AdWords, cool.
Mm-hmm. I'd say AdWords is more like a light switch. You can flip it on, flip it off. It's not residual. It's not an asset that you're building. I would compare a website to an asset, building the SEO that's going to continue to, snowball and compound, and the results are going to grow. AdWords is more of a tool. Turn it on, get results, turn it off when you don't want it.
Yeah. And, a lot of people don't know like their cost per click, what it should be. They're just throwing money at it, right? And they have no clue. Like
they're flying in the dark.
They are. So, we got really good at knowing our numbers, kind of like you did, and like, okay, well, I know I can get this cost per click for this. I know I get this many leads for this much money. I know our closing ratio, so we're getting a customer acquisition cost is going to cost us this much for this service, right?
Yep. And you got to reverse engineer.
Right. So it's simple math. So if you can get a client, let's just for easy numbers for $50, how much money would you throw at that thing to get $50 a client?
As much as my company can hold. With
so
capacity.
Everyone's like,
as long as we're doing good service, as much as I could.
And so people are like, well, what's your ad spend for the year? I'm like, well, I don't really have a percentage. It's just constantly rolling, right? Like as long as we're getting the return, I'm going to keep spending the money. So I don't care what the budget is really, because I'm getting my return. So kind of walk us.
All I care about is that client acquisition cost.
Right.
If that client acquisition cost is healthy and we have the capacity, I'm putting more fuel on the fire.
Yep, for sure. So like kind of walk us through that process of, impressions, cost per click, if you can. Tell us what a good average maybe of the industry is, what a good one, what a bad one is. Kind of talk us through that.
So cost per click, we look at that, and I don't know. I'm not the guy that codes and does websites. I just know why we do what we do.
Right.
But cost per click, we look at that. That's not the main thing we look at, but it ranges. Pest control is going to be on the higher end. Yep. Fertilization is still up there. When you get into the maintenance, it's usually almost always less expensive. So cost per click, anywhere from $2 to $10 a click is pretty standard. But we like to look at conversion. So cost per conversion, that means they fill out a form on your site or they actually call you. So we like to track it to where we have it here at my office. If somebody visits our site from an AdWord, it shows up either on the form. It will say AdWord just because of they're called UTM parameters. I don't know what they are, but I know what they do.
Yeah.
Or if they call, it's going to show up on the caller ID AdWords, because people don't know. The consumer's not going to tell you they clicked on an ad,
right?
But we want to know that in here, so we're not flying dark, so we know where to shift our budget around.
And it's coming in because you probably have a tracking number, right, for that ad. So they're clicking on the ad. It's calling that number. It's showing up as AdWords. So you're tracking that.
So if they hit our website from an AdWord, it's displaying a different phone number. Even if navigating around page to page. It's going to be that separate phone number. So it rings to the same spot. It just has a different caller ID that will say Google Ads.
Yeah. So do you typically market for more like lawn maintenance companies, fertilization, weed control, pest control, all of it? Or what do you typically market for?
We do all of it. It's much easier to help a maintenance company grow. The client acquisition cost is generally much lower. The competition is much weaker.
Yeah.
So the maintenance companies they're much easier to help grow. Where
do you see their customer acquisition costs? I mean, it kind of varies from company to company, but where would you say?
Yeah, if your company, if you're in the less than $500,000 range, you can, and you're not scaling really large, really fast, I see no problem being under $50 a client acquisition. But if you're trying to add 500, 1,000 plus clients a year, over $100 for me is healthy. Like mine, we're sitting around $130 for a client acquisition. I think that's healthy.
Right, and you're downtown Salt Lake City, so lots of competition, I would imagine, right? Lots of pressure.
Yeah, big market, lots of competition. It was so much easier to sell lawn mowing.
Right.
Now we get into the fertilization and pest control space. We're dealing with companies who are nationwide. They have big marketing budgets. They're marketing companies.
Absolutely.
So it's just a whole different ballgame.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. So how do you differentiate yourself online to still get your customer acquisition costs good when you're competing against the big players like that?
The good thing about those big players is they can't be as focused, right? You need to spread out and throw more money and more manpower, but that's not always the right answer.
Agreed.
So dialing it down to finding out like how that, like for my company, right? Like how do we talk? How do certain city names, we don't say them a certain way, key phrases, lawn care to some markets might mean mowing. Lawn care to another market might mean fertilization. So you've got to really dial in to the demographic and what they're looking for and the way they communicate.
Right. And so like you're doing a lot of stuff online. Are you doing a lot of short form stuff like on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook? What are you?
I just started that.
Just started that.
So the marketing company, we do like some basic ads management, but the real key to a good social media, I feel the real key is content. Getting really good, consistent content. Yep. And that's just not feasible for us. You know, we're not going to be able to fly across the country and film a bunch of TikToks or Instagram videos. So Holmes, my lawn company, I just hired a girl part-time in the last 2 months, and we're pushing more of the social media. So we just started a TikTok channel in the last month and a half, and we're starting to push more for Instagram and doing that stuff.
Sweet.
That's more of the brand awareness play. It's long-term.
Absolutely.
I think it's going to pay dividends. It's going to take some time.
It does. When we started, I told Dalton, he said right next to him, like, this is going to be a 6-month process. Like, I don't expect results right now, but in 6 months, like, we'll start seeing some. And I think we talked about this in the podcast before, but I think it was like month 2 or 3. I think we started to hit like our first video was like 100,000, right?
Yeah, I started in May. I think we started to pick up in September and October.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then now it's been a year, almost to date.
Yeah, almost a year since we started.
And now we have, I don't know how many videos, over 1 million.
Well, there's like 1.4 million likes across the whole thing.
So
it
takes time, right? Like it doesn't happen overnight. Yeah. But like we're playing the long game there, and people they want instant results, but they forget about the short form content where all the kids are that are going to be growing, 19, 20, 25 years old. They're going to be in Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, but they're going to start buying homes soon. Homes,
sure.
And they're going to be building homes soon. Or buying houses, and that's the people that we're trying to attract eventually too. So it is the long game, and you can't forget that. And I think our mentor told us that a long time ago, like, even on YouTube, like, just get the content out there. It's not going to happen overnight, but over time, it'll pay off.
Yeah, especially with TikTok. I think it's easier for us to build an audience right now. Yeah. I don't know that the audience is ripe yet, but I do think as they get older, but I also think that people tend to shift, right? People were on MySpace, and then the younger generation went to Facebook, and then slowly the older generation shifted and followed, and then it went to Instagram and whatever, right? I think we're at that stage where older people are starting to shuffle into TikTok, and I just want to already have an audience while it's easier to build that audience.
Yeah. Yeah. In like, as far as like online or offline marketing, like what are you doing, again, to try to differentiate yourself in your market? Like, are you doing any every door direct mail, door hangers? I know you have some door hangers for technicians and stuff, but doing lawn signs. I know you wrap your vehicles are sick. Looks super sweet. Like, what else are you doing? Anything out of the box, ordinary that you're willing to share?
Typical stuff. The van wraps. I mean, the lawn signs. Have one right here.
Yeah.
So we just stick these there. I think they're 9 by 12 inch, and they go in it's just a corrugated sign. They're going in every yard every time. So we're trying to just be out there in front of people. We've done EDDM, every door direct mail. I haven't had a lot of success with it, so I don't try to spend too much money with it. We're testing everything. That's the key.
Yeah,
throw a bunch of stuff out there, but you got to test it. Don't fly in the dark.
You got to, like you said, just throw it at the wall and see what sticks and see where you start getting the best results from, right? Then dump your money into that. But it's not one thing that's going to move the needle. It's a spoke in the wheel. Right. And the more spokes you have, the more the wheel turns.
Exactly. If you plan on one lead source, plan on your business being very volatile. If something changes and it doesn't work all of a sudden, or some regulation changes, you better be ready to pivot, and hopefully you have other lead sources, because that's going to dramatically change your life.
Yeah. And you're in a different situation than most people, but like at $500,000 revenue going backwards, I'm sure you sold off a bunch of equipment, and they got a big, beautiful shop, but you had some cash, right? Not a lot of people are going to have cash like we had when we started back over.
Right.
So we were fortunate, if you didn't have that cash, what would you do from 500,000 to get to $1 million?
I would worry more about the profitability of the business rather than top line.
Yeah. Because cash is king, right?
Good at what we're doing and charge more than anybody else.
Yeah. Why do you say
That's
that?
exactly what I do.
Why do you say that?
Bigger is not always better. better is better.
Absolutely. Because like I said, would you rather have, a $500,000 company doing, let's just say 40% margins, or would you rather a $2 million company doing 7%?
Oh yeah. Smaller. And I just care about quality of life, what opportunities we're offering to the people here, and how much is at the bottom line, and offering a good service.
Yeah. Cause like you said, at the end of the day, the cash it's the blood of your business. Without it, you can't do anything.
Oh yeah. Well, and when I started, I didn't have jack for money. Like I had an old F-150. I had an old F-150 and I threw a Boss V plow on the front of that thing. I was told by every single person not to do it. And I had to replace the front end pretty much every spring after plowing for a couple of years. But that's the truck I had.
Yep.
That's what I could afford. So there were years of grinding it out, not paying myself much of anything. Luckily, I don't love debt. So like all of our vehicles, we're just paying cash for. When we did do that transition, we had a bunch of equipment we could sell. So we had the cushion. We could carry that burden of dropping all that revenue over one winter.
So you have a big shop. Like, I've been there.
Yeah.
It's massive. It's really cool. It's a beautiful place. What do you do with all the extra space right now?
We have tenants in there now.
You do?
Yeah. So I take up half of the space, which is more than we need, but it's good for now. And the other half, we just have 3 tenants, and they pay the whole mortgage and property tax before I ever have to do anything.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
Nice. So you're running like a $1.5 million business, and you're going to be hitting $1 million this year. But you talked about quality of life. What's been the change in your quality of life from one business to another?
I'm not putting out fires all the time.
That's just, yeah.
I can afford to take my time when hiring. I'm not just looking for a body to throw in the mix. I'll probably interview at least 50 people before I hire one, because we only need 4 right now. We only need 4 technicians. So I've only had to hire 1 more this year, and we can afford to train. Like our new guy, he hasn't been out on his own. He's worked with us for 1 month, and he's yet to be out on his own. He's always riding with somebody, because we want to be able to spend the extra time to train so that we can have a better service, so we can continue to charge more than anybody else.
Yeah. With your mowing company that you had, did you sell the mowing?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
I was able to find somebody to buy the accounts. My operations manager went over with them. The employees went over. He bought a lot of the equipment, not all of it.
Was it a bigger company, a smaller company, about the same size?
They were around the same size, but they were doing a lot of commercial. Okay. And they wanted to pivot and help cash flow. It was really good for them because we were charging cards daily, credit cards daily. Cash flow was good. It came with a lot of great employees. Yep. Operations manager who's still there. Huge asset.
Yep. Did you go find them, or did you post it somewhere?
I know quite a bit of people in the market. Usually I'll host poker night at the shop, where it's just like, we'll have, 15, 20, 25 business owners in our industry where we just talk shop.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I like to be close. Like let's lift each other up together.
Yeah.
What we're doing that works. I don't want it to be a race to the bottom.
Yeah, I like that too. A lot of people would struggle with that, right? And we're similar. Like I want to be friends with everyone in the industry, and like I want to make the industry better as a whole. I think I've said that on the podcast 1,000,000 times. Like, as we're just looked down upon from other industries. Like, you guys have a shitty industry, but it's $1 billion industry. But a lot of people would struggle with like talking to their competitors right next door and telling them their prices. They're talking shop. Like, what's your thought? Obviously, you just told us, but like,
I've shared my pricing with many competitors. I call them competitors. There's tons of work.
Yeah.
Like we just need to worry about ourselves. We're not the biggest player in our area now. If we just focus on us, that's the most important part. So it's not just the pricing. Like you said earlier with marketing, it's not any one thing. It's not the equipment we use. It's not the pricing structure. It's not any one thing. It's everything coming together and working well together.
Yeah. Did that company buy all your equipment and everything too?
They bought a little more than half of it, and then I just sold off the rest.
You did? Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What's your plans like with Holmes Lawn and Pests over the next 1 to 3, 5 years? Like, where do you see it going?
That's a great question. We're just continuing to get better every year. Now that we don't have the lawn mowing and the maintenance to distract us, it's crazy how much better our service is.
Yeah.
And how focused we are. I'd like within the next 3 years.
What was that? Where was it?
I'd like to double revenue in the next 3 years.
Cool. I like that. So you're going to be, $2 million.
Yeah. And it's healthy revenue. Like I said,
Right.
Bigger is not always better.
Couldn't agree more.
I just want really healthy revenue with people who stick around.
But that's the first thing in our industry for whatever reason. The first thing they ask you, right? What's your revenue?
How many trucks do you have?
Yeah,
how many employees do you have?
It doesn't matter.
You know how it goes.
But I was one of those guys too. I mean, I'm sure you
So
were.
was I.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like, what's your revenue? You're like, oh yeah, we're at 2 million, 3 million. Like, yeah, but you're doing 7% net. It's not fun.
And 7% is pretty typical in our industry.
It is. That's not great.
Even these massive companies, sometimes they're less than 5.
Yeah.
Like the Bright Views, they're down there. It's all about volume. That just, to me, that just screams a lot of risk and a complicated life.
Yeah. What does your life look like outside of work now?
Man, I do some traveling. I like to get out and some of the guys we travel with.
Oh, yeah.
Just got back from a mountain biking trip in Moab.
Yeah.
Going to Belize in the fall, doing some traveling, a lot of just hanging out with the family. I have 2 sons. They're into soccer now. Just doing that, man. Just family, hanging out, traveling, having fun.
And how much time do you spend at the office these days?
I probably spend 30 hours a week.
Okay. Do you split time between both companies, or they kind of work together?
So the marketing company, they're completely separate. I probably put in myself 6 hours a week in that.
Oh, nice.
Like I said, I'm the guy to help them understand what clients want, because I'm a client of Kudos, right?
Right.
Help them understand what's important to us as business owners, help them speak our language and find out, what is going to move the needle and why. Just because something looks good on paper when you're talking about lead acquisition costs, that doesn't mean it's good for the business. You might be getting a bunch of leads, but they might be crappy leads in an area you don't want to be. So I sometimes have to remind them, like, just because the data says one thing doesn't mean it's great for the operation of the business.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So they're going to say, oh, look, cost per client acquisition is insanely low right now. April or May, very typical, right?
Yep.
We need to push. This is going to get them way more clients. But then we sit in on our monthly Zoom calls and I'm asking the questions like, oh, how's your capacity? How's the office? Are they answering phones? How's your crew? Do you have capacity? And if they don't, I'll have to tell our team, hey, we should not increase their budget, because that's just going to make it more of a dumpster fire. Right. They're just getting by, and we don't want to throw so much on there that they can't control the quality. And if you throw too many leads out of an office, their conversion rate is going to go down because there's so much going on. It's basically throwing money out the window.
Right. And most of those people aren't going to have a call center where they're going to track their calls on a daily basis.
Right.
I'm just not saying they're not, but a lot of them won't.
Right.
Not that sophisticated yet.
You're exactly right. That's first. If you're in the maintenance industry, especially residential, you got to have a strong office.
Yeah.
Very strong office.
Couldn't agree more. In your company, where do you typically close at on the phones or via estimate?
We're at 51% for the year right now.
51%.
We were at, I think, 48% last year for the whole year.
Awesome. That's great.
For me, if I'm getting above 55%, to me, that just tells me I need to raise my
prices a little bit. Yeah. That's cool. So I seen a video the other day of you. Someone might have sent it to me. It might have been you, but it's pretty cool. And it was about the reel mowers.
Oh, yeah.
We have to talk about it because
I'm a nut. I'm a nut with my lawn. I'm going to be honest with you.
We have to dive into that because your lawn looks sick. So for everyone, we should put the link of that video in this podcast or even on our YouTube. It looks sick. Like, if you want to see a really nice lawn, you guys have to check this lawn out. Like, it is beautiful. So, like, I want to know, because I've asked you questions.
Ask away.
I think I've been asking these questions for 2 years. And
it's fun. It's very time consuming.
Yeah.
So ask away.
Yeah. So you said you have 7 lawnmowers. And then I said, well, what's your favorite one? And you said it's the Husqvarna of all. I'm like, yeah, I get that's the Husqvarna is your favorite. That's not the one that does the real work to what you've put into it.
Not the striping and all that. The problem is, if you want your lawn really short, you've got to mow it so often, like every 1 or 2 days. Because I cut it's like half an inch that I cut the grass.
It's sick though.
You have to be mowing it every day, every other day, and I just don't have that time anymore because I'm also doing a lot of stuff around like planting trees and whatnot.
For sure.
So the Husqvarna, it's just the robot mower. It's like a vacuum, right? It just goes out, does a nice job, and then if I want to make it look nice and stripe it up, then I bring out the real mower.
So when you say a real mower, which is that your California trimmer? Is it you need
Yeah,
that
it's
one?
California trimmer. It's a decent entry level to get you some good results. It's not a super high end mower, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it costs like what, $1,600, something like that. Look pretty cool.
I got the bigger one. It might have been like $1,800.
Is it a 20-inch 7-blade? Is that the one you got?
7-blade. Might be a 24.
Nice. Yeah, but so okay, walk me through the process. Like, probably gonna lose some people here, but
what can people type in to find this?
It's not even on my YouTube.
I have the YouTube link.
It's Lawncology is the name. He's a vendor of ours.
Yep.
He makes some fertilizer supplements and we buy some
John's
stuff
a
from
good
him.
dude.
John, yeah, he lives somewhat close to me, so he's also a lawn nerd.
Lawn
as well,
nut for sure. But I have the video with the link. I'll drop it in I'll drop it in here so everyone can watch it. Increase some views, but it's super cool.
If you don't love grass, you probably don't. You're not going to find much value in this video. Fair warning.
Yeah, for sure. But so when you first started out, did you just take your regular mower, like your Honda mower, just start cutting it down?
I started with like just an old school. It started years ago. I lived in a townhouse and I had like a 10-foot by 10-foot square. So I got the Honda, or not the Honda, it's like a Scott's manual reel mower.
Yeah.
This is like an $80 mower. And I just started doing it very often. And then just started learning about, feeding it right and making it smooth and cutting more often. And one thing led to another.
Yeah. So when you cut it down really short, you said in your video that you notice all the imperfections. Like, so you're constantly fixing grade, I would assume, constantly seeding, constantly fertilizing certain areas. But you said to everyone else's eyes, it looks awesome. But you see every single imperfection.
Yeah, so, exactly. Like you look at something that's near perfect, it's very easy to be like, oh, yeah, there's one little circle, right? One spot that's not right.
So then you're going over there with, I'm going to guess some topsoil. You're leveling off that little spot and seeding it and start is that what it's like?
Yeah, I'm not as crazy as I was the first year. Now, I've just come to the conclusion. It's my backyard. I have kids. I'm not going to be that guy. Front yard, I can care more about. Backyard, it is what it is. Still looks good.
Do you have a putting green back there?
I do, yeah.
I do, yeah. How short is that?
Oh, it could go shorter. It's at like 1/3 of an inch.
What are you using for that one?
So it's called a Hudson Star mower. It's a manual one with no engine, but they use it on golf courses for like the weird areas of golf greens that are small and hard to get to.
How much time do you spend on that a week?
Well, the nice part is it's a small green, so I go out there and mow it every day, but it probably takes me 10 minutes.
Right.
It's a therapy. It's cheaper therapy. I just go out there and think and cut the green.
With the Husqvarna, I'm not caught up to date with that mowers, but do you still have to dig the trench and put the line in and stuff like that, or is it just room
for now? Yeah, they're getting closer, but I didn't. It was easier than I thought. I just got a straight edge edging tool and just kind of shoved it in the ground and then just pushed the wire in, so I wasn't actually trenching.
Yeah, I think when I was
it probably took an hour and a half for my entire yard. You do have to be pretty particular because if you put it too close to edges, the thing falls off and gets stuck in the flower beds. It's kind of a pain in the ass.
Did you have a driveway?
So I do. Driveway, but it just drives right over the sidewalk. So it thinks it's mowing on the sidewalk, and it gets an arc trip.
So do you have to trench underneath the driveway for that?
No, just grinded out one of the seams in the sidewalk a little bit lower, put the wire, and then sealed it up.
Yeah, but you guys have to check out this lawn. It's pretty cool. For all you lawn nuts out there, it's something that I would want to do. I just don't know if
I know there's a whole lot of you. Just kidding.
Yeah, there is. There is actually. So what is I know you said you want to double your revenue. Can I get back to the business side of things? But
yes.
That's a 3-year process. So is it all going to be on line? You're not going to be involved that much? Are you really going to push this thing, or do you have a team that's built up that's going to push this thing for you?
I will be making sure I'm hiring the right people and they're getting the right training, and I will be pushing sales and marketing. But Brittany in the office, she does a great job. She handles all the office, the sales, and she manages Ariana sales, scheduling, invoicing, reporting, all of that.
How many CSRs do you have now?
Just 2.
That's amazing.
And that's still for a $1 million
That's
business.
amazing.
That's still, we can grow without having to hire more.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great. So your culture's got to be really, really solid right now.
It's fun. Yeah. Only one person here this year wasn't with us last year. I hired one more person this year. Everyone else worked with us last year or several for years prior.
Is that just because you had to add a truck this year?
Yep.
And how did you fill that truck?
Just continuing to do digital marketing, man.
This digital marketing thing has got to be something else.
Now I'm trying to spread it out and do more social media presence, because you can only spend so much money on AdWords. There's a very quick diminishing return. So if you're flying dark, you want to just up your budget, you can really, really waste some money. We've seen that a lot. So that's why it's so important to track, especially AdWords. Because once you start throwing, if you want to double your money, once you get to a certain point, you might only get 10% more leads for double the spend.
Why is that?
It's a supply and demand. You're competing against you're just flooding with more money going in, and the demand hasn't gone up. It will spend your money because you're competing with all the other people. Throw the money out.
How often are you looking at your dashboard then?
So minimum once a month.
Okay.
As far as client acquisition costs and spend, I'm probably looking at it every 1 or 2 weeks.
Okay.
I got to be careful not to look too micro, because if I look at really small sets of data, I tend to overreact.
So you try to look over a 30-day period or 15 to 30-day period.
If you want to get a more realistic picture, I think a 30-day period is probably the minimum that you're going to want to look at.
Yeah, and then like you said, like April, May, your leads are going to be high, and then as June, July, August come, your leads are going to start to fall off, right? Obviously, you got to keep marketing, but then at that point, like come June, July, August, what are you doing to still try to attract more clients?
We're sending out quite a bit of letters with gift cards for our existing clients to refer friends and family to us. Continuing to build the brand. At that point is where we start dialing back the ad spend. Yep. I mean, that's when everybody starts slowing down. So a lot of companies, once you hit June and July, they tend to want to spend more, even though the demand is lower. And that's just going to be very wasteful. So we just got to realize we got to capitalize on when we're spending the money and when we shouldn't.
Yeah, and that's the same thing like we've always been taught is like the first half of the year, you're going to be spending your money on getting new clients. And the second half of the year is when you're going to go upsell those clients that you got to make them worth more money, right?
Exactly. And taking care of them so you have a longer lifetime value.
Yeah, for sure. What are you doing to take care of your clients other than service? Is there anything outside of service that you try to do a little bit different? Like I see you're giving some gift card strategies. But anything else?
One thing we did this last winter, because I kept the office staff and we shut down. We didn't do $1 of revenue between December to March. So we just filled up 2-gallon buckets with our name on it, and we just delivered them with ice melt, cold ice melt to our clients. And we just dropped them off on their porch, just sent a text message and say, thanks, a little Christmas. We had the labor anyways in the office, right? It was not very expensive for the buckets and the material. So I figured we might as well spend it wisely and help our clients.
That's pretty cool. Did you I know you pretty well, but I'm assuming these buckets were probably blue and had your name on it, or did you just go buy buckets?
They're white, and we did get stickers. So it's got our logo on there.
Yeah. Did any of your customers show appreciation for that?
Oh yeah. The texts back were so cool. Like, really, and I don't know if it had a direction, but our retention is way better this year. Usually, we go 3-4 months of doing nothing, no communicating with clients. I feel like they forget about us. Yeah. So I wanted to help them, but I also wanted to stay in front of them so they didn't forget about us. So even once a month, January, February, March, we were texting them back, hey, do you need refill? We'll come refill it for free. I just didn't want them to forget about us.
Yeah, and client retention is so important. Like in the past, what was your client retention, would you say?
It's hard to tell with FERT only because we were only 2 years. Yeah. But it was in the low % range, 22 to 24% is my best guess.
If you had to guess now for that, would you say that's this year?
We're on track. it's probably going to be around under 20, not by more than a couple percentage points.
Awesome.
Yeah. Somewhere 17, 18, 19%.
Because that's what people don't watch, right? Like, yeah, well, we gained 1,500 clients this year. And but you also lost 500 clients, you know?
And I know we can get better. That
churn is
17%,
just
it's
normal
okay.
too. People are moving out.
17, I think 17 is better than industry average, but I know we can be better than that.
Yeah, because you can't stop people from moving out of town, you know?
Yeah, that includes people moving, losing their job, their neighbor starts doing it, whatever.
Again,
that's all.
But these are things that have to be tracked inside your CRM, like religiously, because you have to watch the data. Again, how many people actually do it? Not very many.
The good ones do.
The good ones do, absolutely. That's what sets us apart. But people always ask, like, they're asking these questions all the time. Like, what do you do different? Like, well, we do this, this, and this. Like, they're lost, like deer in the headlights. Like, well, we got a lot of work to do here, you know?
Seems like most people are just looking for, where do I spend my money for that magic pill? What's gonna give me that instant thing? And no, it's not one thing. It's doing everything well.
Yeah, you talked about pest control, and I got this question sent to me, my LinkedIn, I think, this week, and I told the guy, I'm like, that's a great question. I'll ask on the next podcast. So I'll ask you. He owns a lawn care company as well, but wants to get into pest control.
Okay.
And I didn't respond to him. I responded to part of it, but I was like, I'll ask this question. Have you found it harder to attract pest control clients as a lawn care provider?
100%.
It's because they're looking at you as their full.
I think because we are a lawn care company who does pests.
Yep.
The consumer doesn't see us as a pest control company.
Right.
They think that our service is not as good, and I don't blame them.
Right. So how do you change that?
It's a good question. I don't know. Separate them out.
Yeah.
Like for me, I do want to start a tree healthcare business in the next year or two.
Awesome.
That's going to be completely separate. It won't have anything to do with Holmes because I don't want to dilute, our reputation.
So you're saying if you were sort of, because you do some pest control, I'd imagine now, right?
Yeah, it's like 20% of our clients take pest. It's not a lot.
And I'm assuming you got them through upsells.
Yep. Pretty much all upsells.
Yeah, but every person that I talk to in the marketplace, and including a bunch of our friends, all have the same exact issue. They're big, $3-5 million operations. They're all doing fertilization weed control, but to sell that pest control client is almost impossible.
You got to find the clients who like you to begin with, who don't have really huge concerns and just want easy. They want to work with one less company. They already trust us. But just starting out in pest control, it's a lot more complicated than I thought. We started probably 4 years ago, and I thought, okay, we're going to go around and do a perimeter spray.
It's not that.
Oh, let's go above and wipe the eaves. It's like, no, that should happen every time, right?
Yep.
There's way more to it. It's just like grass. You're not going to go spread fertilizer and that's it. It's way more.
Yeah. And sir, I was talking to a guy this morning, same thing. He's like, oh yeah, we do pest control. We just go do the perimeter spray. We charge $40. I'm like, slap my head. Like, that's the normal thing. And it's like pest control is its own different beast. Like we're 80% pest control at this point. So we're like 80-20, depending on what branch we're at. But like people know us as a pest control company at this point, so that's what our leads are. I'd say probably our leads are probably 50-50 right now between lawn and pest. But we really focus on pest control. But that's how we separate ourselves, and that's how we started getting, people like our own clients referring us to other people. It's because we got really good at it, But I brought in a director of operations who had a lot of background in pest control. I brought in 3 or 4 technicians that were from, Terminex or Orkin or even a local competitor that were really, really good at pest control and paid them really well, and they taught us the way. Yeah. And so now
it's much faster.
It's so much faster, but it's a whole different animal. Like you said, it's like grass. Like if I knew a company, a local company that was doing pest control that got into lawn. Within 8 months, they were done. Like we're not doing that again. So even on the pest control side, to do lawn is the same thing.
Yeah. You want to be a jack of all trades?
Yeah.
Master at none.
Yep. But yeah, and that's just, you have to pick one thing and get 1 or 2 things and just get really, really good at it. Like you said,
that's what we were.
Yeah.
I spent the last 6 years simplifying my business. We did all commercial and residential. We did all the maintenance, all the snow removal. I have spent years just cutting revenue, cutting services, cutting demographic so that we can be more simple. I was jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, me too. The exact same guy. But like I remember,
If you could go back,
what's that?
if you could go, would you separate lawn and pest for you?
Oh, that's a good question. It depends. I get asked this all the time too. And you already have your brand. Like everyone knows you and they put an emphasis on your name. Like, oh, I'm going to change my name to go rebrand. Okay, well, that's a new website. That's all new wraps. That's all new everything. They don't get how expensive it's going to cost them. I did it because I sold my last company and was starting in a new market. So I could start over. I sold my old brand, you know?
Okay.
But now I probably wouldn't separate them. I'd just be like, okay, well, this is this part of the company, division of Turf Badger, right? Pest control, whatever you want to call it. Because we already have brand recognition. Now just start a different division, call it something else, division of Holmes Lawn and Pest. Because you have the brand. You've been around for 12 years. Everyone knows you. Everyone trusts your name. Everyone sees your trucks. So I probably wouldn't. I'd probably keep it the same.
Yeah. Do you think the battle as you scale, you get to a larger scale, is the battle perception or quality of work?
At scale, I think it's if I had to, probably perception.
So still they see us as lawn and pest. That's the battle. Okay.
Yeah, but then once you get there, right? I feel like once you're there, like I said, we're there because we do a couple $1 million in pest control a year. But now that they're there, like now it's value, right? Like making sure that we do a good job and are getting really, really good at our job. And like, I guess I'm kind of fumbling over my words a little bit, but at scale, I think it's a little bit easier to sell pest control because you have so many clients that are referring you or seeing your trucks, and that's what we focus more on. But
Sure.
I would say like all of our organic leads are actually lawn care.
Well, it's less expensive, less competitive.
Yep.
It's a good way to get your foot in the door and then sell them on pest as long as you're good at pest.
Yep. So like I think our client acquisition cost for fertilization weed control right now is super low, like extremely low, and I can't believe it. Like I'm fired up about
What is
it.
this?
What's that for our
Yours is low?
Yeah, it's super low. We're paying like $34 right now.
Fine. Very good.
Yeah. And then for pest control, it's higher, but it's like in the $80. So we're still doing really well.
Great. That's so good.
On the fertilization weed control side, we're closing at like 46%. And our pest control side, we're like at 70, but it's different, right? Because
why do you think is it more of an emotional? They already have a problem. They just want to get it done faster.
Yep. So like when it's like for your lawn care client, like say they have weeds. Well, those weeds aren't going to go anywhere, right? They're not going to cause a real problem or real issue. So they can just call the next competitor and just price shop you. Or if pest control, they have an issue, they need it taken care of, whether it's wasp in their house or mice in their house or whatever it may be, right? Or termites, like they need it done now and they don't really care what it costs to a point. So as long as you're answering your phone and you're treating the customer the right way and you can get out there in a decently good time, you're just going to close higher naturally.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's what we found, so we're closing a lot higher, but our customer acquisition cost is a little bit higher, but we're actually closing at a higher rate. So our customer acquisition cost is like $70, $80 in there for pest control right now.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Good job.
But again, it's spring too, right? So as the year goes on, that'll change too.
Okay. When I say, I'm trying to say like a year average. Yeah. Selling season is going to be way.
For sure. But like overall last year, we were still at the $110, $120 mark for pest control.
Yes, that's great.
Yep.
Good job.
And then obviously we have our sales teams too, but that's a whole different ballgame. We don't need to go there.
Are you still pushing the door-to-door as hard as you are inbound?
It depends which market we're in, because like in some markets we've leveled off, right? So we've pulled back some of the door-to-door stuff in those markets. But then in the new markets that we open, it's just a quick, easy way to get revenue put on and clients and seeing the trucks in the area, stuff like that,
If done properly, door-to-door adds so much speed.
Yeah.
So much. It's not cheap though.
Yeah, it's definitely not cheap and it's not easy. And everyone's like, oh, I want to go learn it. But it's hard. Like it brings a lot of negative stuff as well. Like just as much negative as positive. Like you just have guys like knocking doors and get bad reviews because of it. And just, some other big companies came in before you that, didn't do a great job. And so they don't really want to buy from a door-to-door company because these big players did a shitty job and didn't treat him well. So there's a lot that comes with it too. But yeah, it's fast. There's a lot of good stuff too.
You see client retention is worse on door to door.
Yeah, for sure. So
they're not looking for you.
Right. And especially in our market, right? In our market, some people never even have pest control on their mind ever. There's never a thing they're ever going to spend money on. But when we're there talking to them, it sounded like a really good idea. And then winter hits and it's 30 below. Like, yeah, see you later, So it's higher, of course, naturally. But we still do a really good job. But again, we're trying to do something different, like welcome packets, like we were always taught, like gift card strategies, like we were always taught, like keeping those, like we're showing them that we're still a little bit different. Always answering our phones,
You gotta be different.
Yeah. So
you gotta
in the difference between a decent company, a good company isn't that much different. It really
it's that extra 20%.
Yep. It might not even be that. Like it might be the extra 5%. It's just those little things that you can do to separate yourself. Like, man, this company really has it going on. Like
actually care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like sending, estimates of video, explaining the service, like how it works, what to expect. Like they already know what to expect before they even get there. And you get there and you do exactly what you tell them you're going to do. It's like, oh man, this company's awesome.
Right. And like you said, even just sending out a lead letter or a welcome packet in the mail.
It's so easy.
Just like that doesn't happen for us. We transition. If we sign somebody up or give somebody an estimate, the girls, just like it is right now, I'm going to film a quick 10-15 second video,
video.
Hey, Jonah,
just
send the estimate over.
Yep.
It's great. I just wanted to put a face to the name. Let me know if you have any questions, or like a welcome video. Hey, thanks for signing up. This is what you can expect.
Yep.
You can call me anytime. I think it makes it more personal, so that it's more of a face to face rather than just they're a company, they're our lawn company or pest company. No, that's their Holmes.
Yep.
They care.
Yep, for sure. And there's a really good book called Giftology. It's around this whole idea. It just tells you how to give gifts, when to give gifts, at what part of the relationship do you give gifts, what gifts not to give, what gifts to give. So it's really cool, fascinating book. My whole team read it. We as a team, try to read a book a month. And I do a short little essay at the end as well. And when the day that someone starts with us, they know that's just what we do. So I expect them to have it done. Call me crazy, a little bit different, but we always read a book, but it levels up everyone. But the Giftology is just a really good book to explain how to gift and how to systematize it. It's super awesome.
Well, being different for sales is no different than being different for acquiring employees.
Agreed.
The good ones don't want to work for the mediocre, bland companies. They want someone who is good. You wouldn't believe how many interviews I do where they say, "Oh, I looked up your company. I watched your videos. I looked at your reviews. You look like a great place to work."
Yeah.
So it's not just for clients. You need to really attract good employees.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that this is something that you'll learn with your TikTok. Is it is a great recruiting tool. People see your TikTok and it's really cool, and everyone a bunch of followers. Everyone already knows who you are by that point. These kids are coming in your TikTok is so awesome. I saw you. You're the TikTok guy. You're the TikTok guy. I'm the TikTok guy. No, you know what I mean? It's so weird. It's so weird.
Nice.
The first time it happened, I was in Pest World.
Pest World.
Yeah, and the group of 4 guys walked up to me and "Hey, you're the TikTok guy." I was like, "What?" "Yeah, you're the guy in TikTok." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Called Dalton. I'm "Hey, some person just said I was a TikTok guy. That was kind of cool." Now, literally everywhere we go, it happens.
Heck yeah.
It's weird.
I mean, this brand recognition, man.
For sure. So
got one on Saturday, my son's soccer game. One of the other parents on the team, "Hey, I saw you on TikTok doing some tip videos." "Oh, cool. Right on." And then my wife thinks it's the strangest thing.
Yeah, for sure. My daughter, she's 13. And all of our friends are "Your dad's famous. Your dad's famous." She's like, "My dad's just my dad. He's a loser." But it's been a fun ride. And I'm sure, I'm sure the last few years for yourself have probably been the best few years ever,
Quality of life wise, for sure. 100%.
Yeah.
I don't want to afford to be able to have to work 60, 70 hours a week anymore.
Right.
I have a family, kids are growing up. Like I said, bigger is not always better. I just want to be better. Better is better.
For sure. Looking back in your 12 years or anything you wish you would have done different that you would give advice to someone else?
Yeah, a lot. Know your numbers.
Would one be graduating school? Because I would say no.
No, I don't regret not graduating
Right.
school at all.
It's awesome. I could give two shits.
It helped me have to go learn myself rather than somebody tell me what to learn. I had to start reading and getting around people and just getting out there and learning.
Yeah. But
I'd rather know how to learn instead of being taught what to think.
Yep. I love that. And then you were saying you know your numbers.
Know your numbers for sure. Don't just charge something because you're doing this or because the other company's charging that, because most companies are probably just hanging on there by a thread and you don't know it.
Yep.
So understand your numbers so you can figure out what you need to charge and what you can pay your employees. And really, simplicity. I love a simple business. We were complicating everything, hard to make clear choices and decisions. So keeping it as simple as possible. I live by that.
That's great advice. What is the best piece of advice that Travis has ever been given in business or in life, but I'm in business?
Great question. Honestly, when I joined Academy, it was all about knowing your numbers.
Yeah.
Knowing your numbers. What I have learned in the last few years, it's all about relationships, building a good network, being able to don't hire slowly. I do multiple interviews, right? The first interview they come in, it's like a 10-minute thing, and then I'll invite 10% back, maybe.
Yep.
Taking my time. And this is kind of what I said, like what I gave, simplicity, knowing your numbers. I didn't always know that. That was probably the best advice I got.
Cool. What are you most proud of?
Grit.
It's hard. It's hard.
Graduate, and I just busted my ass, and I learned the hard way, but the right way.
Yeah.
I never gave up. It was really tough, but I never gave up. I'm really proud of that.
Yeah. How valuable has Kirby been to your business life?
Very valuable. She supports me. She was crazy enough to believe me when I said I was going to start a lawn mowing business.
Yeah.
She supported me for the first couple of years. We lived off of her income. And I think it was like year number 2, I was able to pay myself $500 a month.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, I'm finally paying myself. But she's super, super supportive. I couldn't have done it without her.
Yeah, that's cool. Now you guys have 2 kids together?
2 boys.
Is she working now?
A little, like 1 day a month. She's a dental assistant. So with her old office, she'll fill in for people that need a day off here or there, or go in once a month.
So you return the favor.
She likes the place she worked at and the people. So it's good for her to not be around 2 children every day.
Cool. What is the best piece of advice you'd give someone just starting out? Besides knowing your numbers. Because that's a great one.
Learning to say no.
I love that. It's hard.
Learning how to say no. What's the Mike McCallum pumpkin plan?
Yeah.
That's basically what that book is about.
Yeah, exactly. All his books are great.
Just because you're at someone's house mowing their lawn doesn't mean you should get up there and
trim their
trees. Or trim their trees, right? More lessons to learn. I would rather just kind of focus and make sure I keep my company really lean, very low overhead at the beginning, very focused, learn to say no. The best thing I ever did was hire an office person that would say no to people, because I couldn't do it. I had this weird thing. I remember in the beginning mowing at somebody's house, and the guy came out and asked me to move a cabinet to his daughter's house across town. And sure as shit, I said yes. And I probably only did it for like $20 or something stupid, right? I just never said no.
Yeah, that's it's very, very, very smart. I appreciate that. Well, we're an hour into this thing already. It just feels like we literally just got started.
Wow.
Don't want you to go by fast. So we'll have to do this again in a year and see how it's going. Again, Travis, I appreciate your friendship. Thanks for all the advice that you've given me over the years and time spent in your office, just collaborating. It's been fun. And again, I appreciate you, appreciate your friendship, and thanks for being here with us.
Goes both ways, man. Keep kicking ass.
All right, you too, buddy.
Send your questions to info@pestcontrolmillionaire.com.
Yeah, send your questions. Appreciate it. Dalton.
Not
Good
you,
job.
Travis. You can probably just text Jonas, but
I figured.
All right. Well, I'll see you later.
Okay. See you guys.
thanks for checking out another episode of the Pest Control Millionaire Podcast. If this was valuable to you, please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. It really makes a big difference for our growth. And if you do need any help growing your business, go ahead and check out pestcontrolmillionaire.com. We have lots of courses up there, from sales to operations. I have some courses there about producing short form content. Plus, we have a mentorship program where you can get one-on-one business coaching from the Pest Control Millionaire himself. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.